Thank you, and I'm just going to be here very briefly, and then I'm going to reintroduce to you and to the citizens our consultants for this comprehensive planning effort with Friesen Nichols. Shad Como is going to come up here in a moment and give you a brief presentation, and also Alexis Garcia is here, but this is the culmination of over a year's worth of work on this comprehensive plan, and so I'll invite you to listen to the presentation, then either the consultants or myself can answer questions whenever you have them.
Good evening to the mayor and council. Again, my name is Shad Como, project manager with Friesen Nichols. Also have with me tonight Alexis Garcia with Friesen Nichols as well. As Jeff mentioned, I'll go through a brief presentation for the comprehensive plan, and then I'll open it up for any questions or comments after. Some of these slides you have seen, but what I'm going to highlight are some of those things that we addressed after the last round of meetings with the community, the stakeholders, as well as the Planning and Zoning Commission as well. This is not, there we go. Technology. I apologize, I'm not sure why it's not advancing. Or why is it going backwards and forward? Okay, there we go. These are the 5 elements of the comprehensive plan. As you recall, the future land use, mobility and circulation, housing and neighborhood, community design and character, public safety and health. This is the planning process that we went through that took us through phase 1, which was data gathering, had a series of meetings with the community stakeholders, city staff, as well as the planning and zoning and the city council. And phase 2 is where we took a more in-depth look at the 5 elements of the comprehensive plan, did some workshops, kind of rolled up our sleeves and worked through some issues and things through the future land use plan. And then phase 3 is where we pulled all of that information together, gathered it into a report, and developed the implementation plan. This is the various meetings and input that we did throughout the process, starting last September 2018. And most recently, we met with the citizens, stakeholders, as well as a joint meeting with Planning and Zoning and City Council in July and August. So some snapshots from some of those meetings that we had. And I will mention that all of the meetings that we did have, probably with the exception of the staff meeting, were open to the community as well. And I believe there were residents that attended those meetings throughout the process. So from all of the information that we gathered, there were some themes and patterns that bubbled to the top, and they developed these guiding principles that helped to provide the foundation for the plan, which the recommendations were built upon. So each recommendation in the plan that you find in the implementation table all tie back and relate to these guiding principles. So I'll just go through some of the highlights and notable revisions that were made. These were the chapters of the comprehensive plan that included the 5 elements that I mentioned earlier. So if you recall the draft document that you've probably seen a couple of times, they had some red font in there, and that red font represented the changes that we made. Some changes were made by us, Friesen Nichols, and there were a number and several comments that were staff comments as well that we made, and the comments that we received from the previous meetings. So I'm not going to go through all of these. I'll just kind of highlight some of the ones that that we did discuss. In Chapter 2, there was a clarification on the developable acreage that was remaining in the city. If you recall, we quoted that there was vacant, and you'll see there in the chart that there was 31% vacant land available. But as you can see with the pie chart, only 21% of that is developable land. So the rest falls within flood hazard or areas that aren't being developed. So there's about almost 10% less developable land remaining. The other thing is that we added a section on entertainment. We did hear entertainment being a need of the citizens, and so that was brought up at the last meeting. So we added a section on entertainment, just describing the different types of entertainment. You'll see that figure there, low intensity, medium intensity, and high intensity, gives you a description or definition of those various entertainment categories and some examples of what those are. Another notable change on the future land use plan, which was a staff recommendation, was to add alternative residential land use marker on that map. And I believe there are 5 total on the future land use map. And what that does is they are located on land uses that are non-residential. But it gives you the option if a proper residential development does come forward in that area or for that particular land use, that you could explore that option and entertain a residential land use for that particular area or properties. We also extended the Town East and Motley Special Planning Area boundary. You'll see there that it extends to the highway there, which includes a portion of the TERS that's located within that area. So it also provides a gateway into that special planning area and district. We also made a revision or revised the character and the vision for the US 80 special planning area to include neighborhood retail as a complementary land use to that area. And you'll see the pages in parentheses where those changes can be seen. Chapter 3, the approximate number of percentage of homes listed within each one of those neighborhood housing conditions. If you recall, there was a map that divided the city's neighborhoods into 3 categories: preservation, restoration, and rehabilitation. And I think someone brought up how many homes are located in each of those areas or those categories. And so on page 82, you can see those approximate number of homes have been listed there in that chapter. Chapter 6, we added a metric and standard from the National Recreation and Parks Association for future parks as the city develop. I think you guys have sufficient amount of parks in your developed area of the city, but the I-20 area going to the west, still a lot of area to be developed, and so this will give you some metrics and standards to go by to help for future park planning. There were a total of 4 additional strategies that was added to the implementation following the comments that we received, and those are found on page 153 and 154. So that was the notable changes that we went through. So the next steps would be, if the plan is approved tonight, we'll prepare the final deliverables. Those deliverables include not only a hard copy of the comprehensive plan, but an electronic file. So all of the mapping that was done throughout the process, those GIS layers that were created, all of that information, photographs, all of that information will be delivered to city staff to be used and to be modified. We always like to say that a comprehensive plan is a living document. That means that it could be changed, it could be amended over time. We don't always know what the future holds for us, and so we don't want to, and it can't be a binding document, so it is a living document that can be updated as you like. We appreciate the opportunity to work with the City of Mesquite. It has been a great pleasure to work with you all. We've learned a lot. Each assignment that we take on, we learn various things, and we really appreciate the opportunity. So at this time, I'll take any questions or comments that you might have.
Is there any questions at this time from council?
Mayor, is this just for questions for him, or is this for our overall comments? Is that separate? Is there a separate time for that?
We'll be opening up to the citizens, and then we can come back and ask questions again if you want to wait till then.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. So we'll open up the public hearing and ask if anyone would like to speak for or against this item. Seeing no one moving, anyone want to come up and speak? All right, and we'll come back to the council for any questions, comments, or discussion. Mr. Miklos.
Thank you. I'll try and be direct. First of all, I appreciate, where's our guys? There you are. I appreciate all of this work. You know, at a 40,000-foot level, this is a very helpful document in directing us in specific planning elements and specific directions. And it's not a zoning ordinance. What it does is it says, you know, here are the directions, here are the philosophies, the ideologies for the individual planning and capital improvement decisions that we need to make. So I'll say a little bit of variance, but I will first I'll say I appreciate adding retail and neighborhood serving retail as a component to US 80 and 635. I think that neighborhood serving retail and possibly entertainment in synergy with the AMC 30 across the street and the restaurant pads that are there, as long as they're neighborhood serving, would be a very good thing. And I don't want to see that long-term vision being just an office campus for that area. And so I'm very hopeful that that particular corner can develop into neighborhood serving, but also even possibly some entertainment facilities as well to play off of that corridor. The second thing is that there are neighborhoods that are marked for rehabilitation. And I'm not so much taking issue, and I said this upstairs, but I want to say this on the record and for the public. I do not want the emphasis to be on demolition or an encouragement of demolition or on adopting ordinances or regulations that require retrofit or required to change or alter the house. And I'm not saying that's what this document does. I'm just saying that, you know, I'm putting on the legislative record that what I want to see is, and from the first meeting I was on council, I believe, I want to see a reinvestment program where the city puts in seed money, the individual, like, not exactly like our 50-50 with our sidewalks, but something like that, where homeowners are incentivized to repair home-owned, home-occupied, homeowner-occupied homes, single-family residential places in neighborhoods that have had some issue. I want to see those neighborhoods maintained, and I'm very hopeful that conservation in historic districts can go a long way towards maintaining the character and the type of neighborhoods. What I don't want to see are neighborhoods completely destroyed through what many neighborhoods in Dallas went through, which was the McManization of a neighborhood. If I have homes of a certain type, I want to see them all fixed up and terrific and great, but I don't want 3 lots with 3, medium-sized homes bulldozed down and having some monstrosity built, which is completely out of the character and almost instantly pricing out the current residents of those homes as well. We need to preserve, protect, and maintain our residential neighborhoods and think of inventive ways to encourage and help with reinvestment to fix up the homes that people are in and not figure out ways to drive people out. So I think that's very important. And last is in mobility. And the entire time I've been up here, I will say that I'm not a fan of hike and bike trails and traffic diet for our major arterials. But that doesn't mean that I'm antipathetic, I'm hostile to hike and bike trails. I think the Heritage Trail is terrific, and I think it's a great amenity for the city, and I love the fact that we're continuing to connect those. And where appropriate, I believe that large sidewalks and hike and bike trails and the ability to get people out of their cars and walking from point A to point B is a terrific thing. I just don't believe, and I think that our planning society, the group of planners has pulled back quite a bit from the fad of traffic dieting and putting hike and bike and pedestrians on arterials. We'll see. That's my opinion. Other people may have another opinion. I totally understand that. But I think that to the extent that this comprehensive plan incorporates that, I just wanted to put that on the legislative record as well, for hike and bike and pedestrian, I encourage those in non-arterial areas to connect residential neighborhoods up with residential neighborhoods. So, but otherwise, I think this is a terrific document. I think it'll last until the next time we want to talk about our comprehensive plan, probably 10 or 15 years. And I appreciate that and look forward to the opportunity, possibility of working with this document for years to come. So thank you.
Mr. Archer?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll concur that I'm also super proud of the work that's gone into this document, the work of your organization, our city staff, planning and zoning, this council, other citizens who care to come give their voice and their input. This is what we should be doing. We should be planning for nicer, better things for the future. However, it's also important that we make sure that we're looking long-term on the challenges as well. Some of the people on this dais will not be here after mid-next month. I may not be here after mid-next month. And I say that to say that the next few councils, in order for this document to really come true, in order for those great things to really happen, we also will have to continue with the hard work of things that many of our first neighborhoods and some of our more contemporary neighborhoods are challenged with, that every first suburb around America is faced with. There are some residents in this community who live in much older neighborhoods that frankly can't fathom some of the possibilities that are on this document. I think those of us on this dais can, because we see a lot of good things happening every day, and we don't live in some of those neighborhoods where those challenges are. However, we have complicated challenges, things like our homeless challenges growing and emerging like many other cities around the country, certain amount of youth poverty, single-family subdivisions becoming more and more multi-family subdivisions. And that's not to take a knock at people who are doing the best they can to get through some difficult times. However, those issues, including sometimes where folks are not just having family come live with them, but where we've got folks renting out rooms to strangers in neighborhoods where all of a sudden now there's 2, 3, 4 more cars added to that street. This council took a step in the right direction last year by approving the accessory dwelling ordinance that says you can't just build all these little mini houses in the backyards anymore. I'm thankful for that, but all these things add up to challenges that they're just elephants in the room, that they're hard. We don't want to talk about them. They're not easy to deal with, but we nonetheless will have to as we move forward. So we need to have ordinances in place for when you expand your home, you expand the square footage. There needs to be a threshold in which after that certain amount of square footage, you have to build some parking spaces for your new expanded place. So if we keep focusing on these basic challenges as well, and we're doing a great job of pushing ahead on code enforcement, fighting crime, and fixing our streets. This council's done a lot the last few years. But if we let up for a second as we move forward, especially on these complicated elephant in the room issues I just mentioned here, it will be much harder to implement this wonderful plan that I believe and we all believe can move forward. So for posterity's sake, I felt like it was important to share those. But again, fantastic work. Thank you, and I thank all those whose vision was put forth in this good document. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other comments?
I want to thank you for your work as well. Appreciate all the work and the effort that you put into this and the citizens that participated as well. I think this has come at a very timely way. You cannot underestimate the importance of this document because it's helping to carry us into the future, and we need that. Solomon said, without a vision, the people perish for lack of knowledge. And so now we've got this to go with, and appreciate your work tremendously. Thank you so much.
Mr. Noche?
You know, I just want to join in thanking the team from Friesen Nichols. Really great job, and really grateful that Alexis Garcia got to be on this team and contribute to her hometown that helped raise her and foster and encourage her in the career that she has as a great professional woman and a role model to many young women here in this community. So thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you to your team. We had several discussions, several meetings. Thank you to the citizens that came in, that gave their input, our business owners that came in, gave their input, everyone that worked to help make this document. I think it'll be really nice to have this to go forward, especially with all of our I-20 development coming in for Trinity Point. So, do we have a motion?
Move to approve, Mayor.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Archer, seconded by Mr. Alleman. And that passes 6-0.